I think the only person who would tell you with a straight face that Gerry Adams wasn't in the IRA is Gerry Adams. But having said that, this was first of all, you always want to give people an opportunity to comment, right? In any kind of journalistic enterprise, in the case of the book, or even dramatic enterprise when it's based on real people, you want to give people the chance to deny something if that's the position that they take. Legally, that's probably the sound thing to do. I think dramatically it does something interesting in the series, right? Which is that the kind of dull repetition of this mantra from Gerry Adams, it kind of becomes a music of its own, right? It sort of is in counterpoint to everything you've seen. And if you watch the series, you'll see that one of Gerry Adams' tactics from early on was when he would get interrogated, he would say that his name wasn't even Gerry Adams. He would deny that he was who he was. So you start to sort of see a strategy in place that really is kind of pretty consistent for him over the decades.
He denies his own truth. I mean, that is a massive place to be. He denies his name so he can deny every other step or stage of what he's accused of.
Exactly, and I think when I behold the figure of Gerry Adams today, a man in his 70s, who I think ended up doing some great things in terms of steering the IRA to the negotiating table and actually seeing in a way that a lot of his compatriots could not, that you weren't going to fight the British into the sea. That there needed to be a political settlement to end the Troubles. I think he's kind of in a lonely place. I think it must be quite lonely, right, to not be able to speak truthfully about what you were actually doing all those years ago.
I mean, a lot of people listening to this would say, he's a lonely terrorist. He is first and foremost a terrorist.
Listen, I think that the series, if you watch it, much like the book, takes an approach where there is a sort of comforting register in which a lot of journalism and certainly some drama is written, in which you say, look at that cryptic psychopath. I have nothing in common with that person. There are no circumstances in which I could ever become that person. And that's a kind of storytelling I'm not particularly interested in. I think there's a sort of moral vanity in that. I'm very interested in understanding people, how it is that they get off of the kind of conventional path that you or I might live, and find their way to doing sometimes quite monstrous things. And so in the case of Adams, I would say, if you watch the series, it is pretty unblinking about putting him in the place that he was and ascribing to him the things that he did. It's not looking to whitewash anything. Having said that, there is an effort to try and understand these people. Where did they come from? What was the situation that they were reacting to? And how is it that a person who might have lived an otherwise quite normal, conventional life in their early 20s, in the 1970s, would join an organization like the IRA and end up taking up arms against the state?